Sup, baby? Take me out to dinner? Ignore the sound of my air fryer making chicken tendies in the background. I have to turn my chicken tendies. I've turned my chicken tendies. I did turn my chicken tendies, and I in fact ate every single chicken tender that I made for myself, and they were delicious. I'm telling you, the air fryer my grandparents got me for Christmas, it's totally changed the game. Frozen chicken fingers are a viable option now. You know how when you put them in the oven, they get all soggy and sad, and you're like, yay, I'm eating a chicken finger, but it doesn't taste anything like what you want it to taste? Air fryer. Air fryer. Poof. Changed the whole game. One day, I'm going to figure out how to make the white cheddar cheese bites that they sell at Cookout. And then, once I do that, I will never have to go to Cookout again. Nothing against Cookout, but I will never have to spend $7.14 at Cookout again, unless I want to. Then it'll be my choice. I can decide. But that's not why we're here. We're here because I want to talk about the Batman. As of filming this, I saw it last night, Sunday, and it was incredible. In light of a delicious meal, I decided to actually, change into a different shirt to film this because I was like, let's have some pride here, right? Let's at least try to look a little put together, shall we? And so I did. I look a little put together. But this is a very I'm making this video on a whim because I watched that movie last night. I discussed it some while we waited to see the end credit scene. There is a blip of an end credit scene in case anybody is interested, but it's also a very, very short blip. We discussed the movie and stuff, but I still had so many thoughts rumbling around in this head of mine, and I just wanted to tell them to people. But I also wanted to tell it to people who wanted to hear. And at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night, the amount of people willing to listen to me was very low. I could have tried to tell my cat about the Batman, but I really don't feel like she would care. You see, I haven't even tried to see if she likes Aristocats, and I've heard all cats like Aristocats, and so I don't even know her opinion on film at this point, so she's really not the best option for me to discuss this with. So there I am, 11 o'clock on a Sunday night, my face is washed, my creams and my lotions are applied. I could have tried to make a TikTok, but I couldn't fit everything that I liked about this movie into a TikTok. Not a 15-second for sure, not a 60-second for certain, and not a 3-minute even at my best attempt. So I said, hey, rather than type this all out, and before jumping into reading reviews or watching review videos and then having my initial thoughts shaped sort of by those, I said, let's get the initial thoughts out via voice memo. And then halfway through filming what was going to be a personal reference audio where I could eventually come back, write out a nice little script, make it succinct, well researched, well stated, and well said. Instead, I got halfway through recording that and I said, you know what this is? I said, that's content, baby. And I decided that I was just going to do what I'm doing right now, which is do a short little intro. And then now I'm just going to drop the audio file with all of my thoughts. They are disorganized and they are just straight out of my brain as I think them about the Batman. And while I do so, I'm going to do a little process video of me drawing. One moment, please. One moment. One moment, please. Please, one moment. One moment, ma'am. Fun fact about me, I put my screen protector on my iPad wrong, and now it can't do facial recognition because of me being stupid. Anyway, I'm going to do the progress video of this picture of the Batman that I drew. Yes, Batman. So, there is that. And enjoy. Just know. Come here. Just know. By doing this, you are sparing my mother from this fate. Because by clicking on this video and by continuing to watch, you are choosing to do this.
You are choosing to go down this path. My mother was going to have to listen to this if no one else did. She wasn't going to get spared. But now because I'm making this, she is. This isn't like when I went and saw Spider-Man No Way Home. And I called her up and I said, "Hi, Mom." And she said, "Hi, sweetie, how are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm good. How are you?" And she said, "I'm good." And I said, "Oh, I saw a movie last night." And she said, "Oh, yeah, how'd it go?" And I said, "Well, it was really cool." And then I proceeded to spend 40 minutes telling her not only about every detail of Spider-Man No Way Home that I thought was fun, but every single pertinent detail in every Marvel movie from 2002 until 2022. That's 20 years of movie trivia that my mother did not sign up for.
So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And just go ahead and enjoy. And if you feel like it, subscribe. I mean, that's cool. If you do or if you don't, it's fine. It's whatever.
It's fine. It's whatever. Do whatever you want to do. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, so I'm going to record myself doing this voice memo so I don't have to type this all out, and I can stop trying to make 3-minute TikToks where I don't actually complete any of my thoughts. But I went and saw the new Batman movie, and I will say I forgot about this shot because I just watched the beginning of the Chris Stuckman thing and it reminded me, but there is like this shot at the beginning where you think that this guy is alone in his house, and then all of a sudden you like see the Riddler behind him, and it's just the light flickering off his glasses, and it was like such a good shot. Anyway, I think my favorite part of this movie was probably the Batman and Catwoman dynamic. I feel like Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman was a wonderful Catwoman. She was well-rounded. She was obviously gorgeous because she just was, but they didn't lean into like the sexual, like make her super sexy the way Michelle Pfeiffer's one. Like that was her only trait. Like she was very well-rounded, and you actually like she was like she was an asset to Batman. I loved their dynamic. It very much reminded me of the comic Batman Hush, which has one of the most delightful Batman moments I've ever read, where there is a scene in that comic where Batman and Catwoman kiss, and then literally for the next 8 pages, like that is all that Batman can think about. Like it keeps popping into his mind, and he's like, Catwoman, like I kissed Catwoman, and I think it's hilarious. And like Robert Pattinson's Batman and Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, like for sure have that dynamic. Like, the second that woman kissed that man's lips, he was gone. He was like, he just couldn't stop thinking about it for days. I knew it was exactly, like, obviously he thought about other things. He had crimes to fight, but it just, that was the dynamic I think that they handled well. And I noticed they had a moment in there where they said hush over one of the Riddler's videos, and I was like, this dynamic that I'm getting from the two of them, and the fact that they said hush, I'm like, are they hinting hush, or was hush so in the comic Hush, the bad guy is somebody who could have been Batman in a way. Like, he was friends with Bruce Wayne all of his life. I think his parents also died, but he got sent somewhere else. And so Bruce became Batman, and this guy is kind of like, I feel like you stole the life I should have had. Like, that was kind of the core concept of Hush, if I remember correctly. And in a way, this Riddler had a similar deal. So what am I saying? What are the words that are coming out of my mouth? Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Sorry. So the Riddler, big spoiler here. It turns out the Riddler was like an orphan in the like Wayne orphanage who was there the night that like the Waynes, like Thomas Wayne became mayor. Like there's a picture of Bruce as a child, and the Riddler is in the background. So it's got kind of that Hush element to it where he always compared himself to Bruce because they were both orphans, but Bruce was an orphan with billions of dollars. So how could he really compare to like the squalor and the hardship that the Riddler was in?
So I think that might have been where it was at least inspired by Hush, I think, in that moment. But I think that Robert Pattinson was an amazing Batman. I think that he did a stellar job, truly. I love that his eye makeup was present when he took off the mask, because I feel like they never really show that, and it's perfect. Like, this was a Batman 2 years into his bat career. Like, he was, familiar enough with the job that he knows what he's doing, but definitely doesn't have, like, he's not an expert. He doesn't have a firm grasp on it. Like, he's a baby Batman, and I'd love to see it. And so that's why it was like, and he's very, like, he's still fueled with a lot of rage. Like, Batman's character arc in this movie is learning that vengeance is not what he needs to be for Gotham. To be the change he wants to see in Gotham, he has to become a symbol of hope. And so, but we see him, like, pushing himself, like, refusing to help with, like, he's shutting people off. He says himself, I'm becoming a nocturnal creature at the very beginning. And, like, his most important thing is his work as the Batman, not keeping up appearances. Alfred has to keep reminding him that he has he has to keep up the facade of Bruce Wayne, and he has responsibilities as Bruce Wayne. But when we see him as Bruce, which is not super often, he actually is in his bat suit for the majority of this movie. And he's, like, not Batman. Like, he's not Bruce for very much of it. I don't know. But when we do see him, he's always wearing, like, loose, long, comfy t-shirts. He's wearing, except for the scene when he's at a funeral, but, like, and his hair is always, like, just in his eyes and very unkempt. And he's got, like, when he takes the mask off, he's got, like, just sweat dripping down, running black makeup down his face. It's like poor sad emo Bruce, because he's, like, dealing with it right now. Like, he is in the middle of it and he has not learned how to move past it yet. And so, speaking of that rage and that anger, it also, like, his take on Bruce has this, like, layer of vulnerability to him. Like, there are moments when he, not even, like, another big spoiler, like, something happens to Alfred. Alfred is in the hospital, he's worried that he lost him and stuff like that. But, like, Bruce doesn't really, he tears up a little bit, but, like, that would be the scene you'd expect him to be emotional. But there are moments when he is Batman and you can see tears in his eyes. And I thought that was an incredible acting decision to do. Because, like, one of the first times I noticed it was when Batman was in a room full of cops and Gordon gets up in his face and he's like, hey, you gotta stop. And Batman says, you too, to Gordon. Because I think in that moment, he genuinely thought that Gordon was siding against him, and Gordon was his one truest ally. Like, they were partners in this. It was like a buddy cop with both of them. I loved it. The two of them were solving crimes, and it was wonderful. My cat is being adorable right now. But in that moment, I think he actually thought, it turns out to be a ruse, and he's still on his side. But there was a moment where he goes, you too, and there was a tear in his eye because he thinks he lost Gordon for a moment. And then one thing I noticed is at the very beginning of the movie, he's taking notes about his crime fighting stuff, and he shuts it and he calls it the Gotham Project. So it's like, it's actually a thing for him where he's trying to, like, he's not just going out to beat people up because he guesses that's what he needs to do. Like, he is actively trying. Like, it is a project for him to try and fix the city of Gotham. And there's a moment where he thinks Riddler has figured out who he is. And, like, it keeps cutting to his face as he's just, like, staring down at the ground. And you can see the tears in his eyes because he realizes, like, I am no longer going to be the Batman. Like, this is the end. One, you know he's going to get arrested for being a vigilante if that comes out. But two, he didn't get to fix the city like he set out to do. It's getting cut off. It's heartbreaking. It's the end of this thing that he's trying to do. Like, the only thing he feels like he can funnel his rage and his grief into is to try and fix Gotham in this way. And that all ties in. Oh, she's in a bag now. My cat's in a bag. She's a little kitty in a bag. Hi, little kitty in a bag. Oh, you're so cute, little baby. Anyway, that whole thing, that kind of ties into Batman's overall arc, which is that he is vengeance, he is the knight and all of that, and he's beaten people up, but he realizes at the end of the movie that the only way to heal Gotham and it ties in with like the Riddler thinking that like they were on the same side, and like other people taking up the cry of like, I am vengeance. And it was these like men who were like, you know, I won't spoil it. I've spoiled so much, but I'll just, if you know the girls who get it, they get it. But he realizes like vengeance cannot be his goal. Revenge for his parents and taking it out on people like the people who hurt him is not the answer. He has to instead become hope for Gotham. And the way he does that is like, oh, it was such a good scene where like he had already been beat up and he had like had to shoot himself with adrenaline, which was great. And he notices like that there is going to be a spark, like a big electric thing is going to fall into some water where a whole bunch of people are in it. And so he goes in and he cuts the wire knowing he's going to fall. And you think that's the end for him. But then he pops up out of the water and it doesn't fade to black like, oh, yay, he made it. And cut to like 3 weeks later where they're like rebuilding the city or whatever. Instead, it cuts to him pulling out a flare and getting straight to work. Like he goes, he helps pull people out of this thing. He uses his flare to lead people up to safety. And then it cuts to them on the roof getting like helicoptering people out who need to be helicoptered out. And he is there every step of the way. And people start to see him as a sign of this hope. And like, it just was such a good message, especially for like having this young Batman who's new and still raw with pain and like has that layer of vulnerability where he is just not okay in a lot of ways, realizing that like anger and vengeance are not what's going to help, that he has to be hope and he has to be a help. I thought it was great. I also, I think I had another thought, but I can't remember what it was. I think a friend of mine pointed out that they kind of took elements from The Long Halloween, which I definitely could see. And I think they did a really good job casting Penguin. Like, Penguin was great in this. I cannot wait to see what they do with him. Carmine Falcone I think they did a great job with him. Oh my goodness, I'm getting so tired. I need to go to bed. Oh, what else? Oh, I should brush my teeth. Oh my gosh. I've lost all train of thought. I took a Zyrtec because I'm suffering from some allergies. My toothbrush. And, it like just hit me like a brick wall. Mama wants to go to sleep. But, yeah, I loved it was gritty and realistic in a way that the DCCU could never. Because it did sort of what Christopher Nolan did, where it approached it as like a noir, crime thriller, detective mystery, and the detective just happened to be Batman, rather than the problem with the like Batman v Superman, the whole DC cinematic universe, is that they are trying to make like, they're trying to make lightning strike twice. They're trying to do what Christopher Nolan did with Batman with a range of superheroes. You can't do what he did with Batman with other superheroes because they're superheroes. The man can fly and can stop a bullet and a speeding train, whatever. Superman is not the world's greatest detective. He's not Batman. He's not a guy in a fancy suit with a bunch of money fighting crime, but ultimately is human. Like, these, I guess the term for them would be metahumans. They cannot be treated with the same film sequence as Batman. And so taking Batman down to its like greatest detective roots, and we get to see Batman actually like solving crimes in this one. Like, we get to see his detective process. We get to see how his mind is quickly solving things that other, like, the cops aren't picking up, but like the details are there. And like, there's this one scene where he's walking around and he stops to look at something, and then he looks back at like the crime scene photographer and walks off. And then the crime scene photographer takes a picture of something they hadn't noticed yet. So it's kind of got like the Sherlock Holmes edge to it, where he is really good at solving puzzles, and being a good detective. Like, we see him do detective work. So making it like a noir crime thriller, having the crime bosses, having the seedy underbelly, it allows for a gritty movie without whatever DC was trying to do with like the blue filters and making everything gritty for grittiness' sake. Like, it actually worked because it was that kind of movie. It was a noir. And I just, it was so good. I probably will have more thoughts, but like I said, the Zyrtec hit me. I am brushing my teeth as we speak. Is there anything else that I have to say? Riddler, okay. I'm sorry. Let me finish brushing my teeth. Oh my god. Okay. So, I forgot it again. No, I didn't. It's there. What was it? What was it that I was thinking? Okay. So one thing that was really interesting about this movie as well was it just sort of like started, and I loved it. Like, it didn't have like any establishing shots, and some things happened, and then the title slowly faded in and was like, the Batman. No, it just said the Batman, and then immediately started playing Ave Maria super duper loud. Like, and I was like, okay, in bold intro, different from what we've come to expect. Like, I'm putting lotion on now. Heavens above. But yeah, so like, but one thing was, like, they chose the song Ave Maria, and then they used the song Ave Maria in a really interesting way. Like, the way that they tied the song in, it was, like, significant both to Batman because of his parents. It was significant to the Riddler. And, like, the scene when the Riddler is, oh my goodness. So, I'm spoiling stuff again, but when the Riddler is in Arkham finally. Oh, that's right. I remember. They added this element, and again, my friend said that it was from like a New Earth comic or something. I haven't read that one, but like Batman's mom descended from the Arkhams. Like, his mom came from the people, like, they like had this whole thing where like his mom had been in and out of like mental institutions herself, probably Arkham, and his grandma had murdered her husband. Like, it would have been like a murder-suicide. So I feel like it's really interesting to see those signs. It's like those roots. I like read or watched something recently that talked about how like Batman is the kind, it's like if a man who has, I don't remember what exactly it was, but it was like, if a man who has that much money feels like the best thing they can do is beat people up, like, he's just hanging on by a thread. Like, he's not quite thinking logically. His heart's in the right place, but his logic to hula hoop to that conclusion, instead of being like, perhaps I could fix the orphanage, perhaps I should beat up the gangs, but like, it's interesting to see where, like, or definitely like seeds of where this story could go, where it's like, did Batman inherit his mother's madness? And so I think that was really interesting. And like, there is a scene where Riddler and Batman are finally like face to face and talking, and Riddler, you think he's like figured out that he's Bruce, and then it turns out he didn't. But like, it's this like never meet your heroes moment when he just like freaks out because he realized like Batman is not on his side. And like, oh, the guy did such a great job in that scene, and he's singing Ave Maria, and it was just like, it was so well done. Another thing that I really liked was the added social media element. So I feel like a lot of times movies, whenever they try to add, so like the movie that keeps popping into my head is the terrible She's All That remake, He's All That, where the main character is like a TikToker kind of, and they like, the lives that they do, it just feels like cheesy, and it's like, okay, that's not really how the lives go or whatever. But I feel like this movie had an excellent grasp on how the internet worked, and it didn't like super duper focus on it, but there were parts where like the Riddler went live, and you see this guy talking about crazy stuff, and you've got like somebody commenting the like puppy dog like the big-eyed begging emoji. I just thought that was hilarious. But like, you get that, and then there is this scene where he kind of, it's like, I think it's supposed to be like Reddit or something like that, but he's been posting these videos, and he's kind of radicalized these guys to be on his side for his big plot. But like, they go to play the video, and he's just sitting there in like his scary Riddler mask and his glasses, and you think he's gonna do one of his dramatic videos that he's been doing across the movie, where he's like, something, and yeah, all the sort of noises he was making, but and it being all intimidating, and he gets there. But it was the way it started. He's just sitting on his bed, and I laughed because he goes, "Hey guys, this is probably going to be my last video for a while. Thank you so much for all your support." And it just like cracked me up, because like, it felt like literally any sort of video along that genre where somebody be like, "Hey guys, thanks so much. I think I'm going to take a break from TikTok for a while because I've just been feeling kind of burnout." And he's like, "Hey guys, thanks so much. By the time you see this, I'm going to be in Arkham because they will have arrested me. It's totally fine. We can do with a plan." And like, he gets crazy in that video, but like, I just thought that was so funny. And so like, and this was just a visual thing that I picked up that I thought was super neat that had to do with Riddler. At the end, when they apprehend him, he's in a cafe, and the whole scene, the whole shot that they have there is very reminiscent of that one painting of the like single man in the cafe all by himself. And I just wanted to say that. But yes, so I feel like their grasp, it was very subtle. It wasn't like overdone, and it wasn't the main focal point of any scene, but the elements they added of social media were like very realistic and true to life. I feel like actual, like, a good example of what actual social media looks like, and I feel like that added a very good like depth of realism to the movie. And what was cool was like, this movie, it was definitely set in the present day, but it was really, really well done, where it felt sort of timeless at the same time. Like, they didn't automatically try to update Batman and have it be, on cell phones and social media, but it like had those elements, but in a way that I feel like the movie will last for a long time without it feeling hokey in those ways. Also, there are several scenes where like Batman interacts or like sees a child who just lost his parents in a very tragic way, similar, or not similar, but a kid in a similar, like, what am I trying to say? His age, the age he was when he lost his parents, and this kid is going through something similar. And like, he looks at this kid and you can see him recognize that like he sees himself in this child, and just the way he stares at him, you're like, there he is. There's the man who's gonna adopt like 8 ragamuffin children and turn them into his bat squad. Like, that is the man who would adopt a child and raise him to fight crime, and then adopt another child and raise him to fight crime, and then adopt another child and raise him to fight crime, and then take Commissioner Gordon's daughter and raise her to fight crime, and just everybody is a family and everybody's fighting crime, and you can see the seeds of that in the way Bruce looks at that kid. He's like, you know, he wants to be like, hey, kid, come with me. I'll teach you how to fight and I'll keep you safe. Like, you could just, that is the vibe that he gives off, and it's wonderful. Anyway, okay, now I think for sure I'm gonna go, but in conclusion, I really, really enjoyed this movie. This has been completely incoherent, but it was wonderful. I would definitely say go watch it. I hope they make more. I hope they make more and make us another trilogy, and then we will have 2 amazing trilogies, and we never have to think about Batman v Superman ever again. I want more of these. I would like more of them. More Robert Pattinson as the Batman. Good day. Thank you. Yes. Goodbye.